Hey everyone, welcome back! Today we'll be covering the new Summer River Adventure content that came out for this reprint, as well as some of the evolutions that released shortly before. Joining me today is the one and only Housamo.
Hello.
Always wonderful to have you here. And everyone else decided, after taking a look at this content, I think I will not. So it's just us two today. With that said, we'll give this a fair examination. And we will be starting with the equipment in this batch. As usual, just let me know if the sound is fine or not, but I have a feeling it is. But yeah, we will be starting with the 3-star ARs and moving up to the 4-star ARs also. Let me just turn on the footage here. Alright. So, starting with the Thunderbird Arachne AR, which is also equipable on Ether and Water units. With this AR, you can bestow taunt to the square in front, to allies, as well as bestow 2 CP to the same ally if you decide not to move instead. So, it is kind of an underwhelming AR, and you probably won't use it. However, there are some situational uses that are somewhat practical for challenges anyways. Essentially just use this AR with anyone, like a partner to a unit that has taunt strengthening. And there's a handful of these units. There's for personal activation rate up, you can there's Hombre Tigre, as well as a virtual variant, as well as Sasaga's Fashionista variant, and Alp's Police variant. For damage amp, Alp as well, but also Amdusias does have taunt strengthening when he does. He gets a massive damage amp, I believe it's like maybe 2 or even 4 times. But yeah, the important part is that, you know, you're probably not going to be changing the aggro that much with this AR, or in terms of how things would normally turn out, because the person you're partnering with is going to be doing the damage most likely, which means they're going to have the taunt or the aggro enemy anyways. So even if that's the case, that means the mover you'll want to equip this AR on would best be someone who can provide defensive support. Units such as Sanzo or Set's Battle of the Valentine's variant, there's Ganglie's base version, even Arachne with her defense up on charge, and Miniaki's Paradise version, Von Grisner's Ellie's Night Festival version, Hote Smoky God's Pool version, and Simorug. So quite a few defensive support, and you're otherwise not really going to use this equipment anyway, so don't bother about everything I said, it's not important. But yeah, it's not completely useless if you're really trying to exploit it, but it's also not something you're ever going to remember anyways. That's all my thoughts on this AR. Well, I do think the positioning of the art is kind of funny. But what do you think, Milk?
I think it's pretty good art for a 3-star AR, although rarity doesn't really correspond to art quality. I think it's still nice to have like good art for something that's common in the gacha.
I agree.
So the functionality of this taunt isn't really new in the sense that we already did have like taunt to allies with Valentine Taishakuten. So the fact that this is like 50% base, it's like fine for 3-star AR. And yeah, Amdusias's taunt strengthening is 4 times. So if you really wanted to do that meme, you can go for it.
Yeah, 3-star AR that can give a 4 times multiplier in one person. Not bad, but very situational. And yeah, I agree. I feel like I've seen this artist before. Maybe they're the one that did the Catobus Cross art, which I don't know.
They're Macroics and both of them artists.
I see. Interesting. In any case, I do think it's a pretty bold angle, very high, like 1 point dimension. I don't know art theory that well, 1 point perspective, but I do like Thunderbird's expression a lot here. And Arachne's just being Arachne. Okay, we can move on. That's it.
I think it's fine to say that like Thunderbird looks pretty like expressive despite being a bird who can't move his mouth, but sure.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like his other art doesn't really do him justice, including his like actual base card art. So this is nice to see him being a bit more than just this heroic dude that is looking at a high angle and you can barely see his face.
Yeah.
Alright, moving forward to the other 3-star AR. This is going to be the Tajikarao Tezcatlipoca AR, and it is equipable on them as well as firewood and world units. It gives a bit of healing at 50% rate, 150 healing to self, as well as advantage against Ardor at 1.4 times. I have one thing to say about this, it's don't use it. There's literally no reason why you don't use it. There's quite a few Ardor advantage ARs, and they've never been useful either. Of course, you could use it for people that can bestow Ardor, such as Beach Baby units or Claude or Nobumichi's Vessel variant, but yeah, don't use this equipment. Also, I think the art's kind of too messy to justify using it as your homepage background.
I actually would usually just say that Mensuke art is ugly, but I think he actually did a good job with like Tez and Taji here, because drawing like other people's human characters for like in the anime style is like actually pretty fucking hard, I think. And I think even though it's like even though Taji looks pretty uncanny, a little uncanny, I think this is actually kind of fine. And I think Tez looks way better than even what Tez's own artist did for him in an AR. So it's like pretty good job, Mensuke.
I feel like this is damning my faint praise. Congrats, this AR looks good just because they didn't draw them as shit like every other artist did. It's something.
I think it's actually pretty good. So yeah, good job, Mensuke. I don't even like Mensuke as an artist, but I think he did a pretty good job.
I feel like that's one of the few things I know about you, because you say it so often that you don't like Mensuke's art. But yeah, it's definitely better in comparison to his other works. I would agree with that. Maybe that's just personal taste though. So we will be moving on to the 4-star ARs, and we'll be starting off with the Shiva Oguchi Magami AR, which is equipable on them as well as fired valiant units. So this AR self-bestows Anchored and 80% rate at base start, as well as nullify debuff after or one hit at a fairly low 20% rate. This equipment suffers from one fact, and the fact is that it is redundant twice over because of two freebie ARs that already give Anchor at a guaranteed rate. The Qinglong Amanojaku AR from this past New Year's, as well as the Horus Thunderbird one from Oviedo Christmas, which both gave Anchor at face start. So the Anchor effect, it's like, no, don't use this one because it's not even guaranteed and you have to pull for it. The other two are free. And the Nullify debuff, it's nice, I guess, but it's like super low rate. I guess just use it on tanks or something, but you know, it's not going to be that game changing just because it's so low rate, even when maxed. And also it's when hit, not before being hit. But yeah, that's all I have to say about this equipment. Oh wait, I guess the art's really nice too. At least Oguchi's is. I think Shiva's is kind of dull in lighting, but Oguchi looks wonderful here.
I think the water in the background is a little messy looking, but I'm a little surprised that this is like Qinglong's artist drawing Shiva.
Oh, that is surprising.
You know, yeah, usually you just expect like these like furry, scaly artists to stay in their lane, but I think Shiva looks pretty good for, you know, the fact that it's Yed. So yeah. It's not my favorite art though, just because of this water splatter being really distracting for me. So yeah.
It's waterfall training.
Yeah, I get it. It's just like
not your thing, yeah.
Yeah, this AR, I'm thinking about it. I'm probably never gonna use it. Maybe just put in like Vikango or some shit, just so that like when you're doing all your moving stuff, you have like a second backup. I don't know. I don't think I'm ever gonna use this AR.
Yeah, it's pretty unwilling for a 4-star AR, and it's the fact that there's like two other equipments. One of them I'm pretty sure is even a 3-star. That already have guaranteed Anchor, then that's like the one actually reliable thing you can rely on this AR, so yeah, probably don't use this AR ever. Alright, we'll be moving on to the next topic, which is the other 4-star AR, and Milk will be covering the rest of these ARs actually, so go ahead.
Okay, so I have the first AR is the Arachne Tuaring AR. I believe this is drawn by Ellie's artist.
Oh, I can totally believe that. I feel like this is one of the best arts we've had. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not loading on the wiki right now, but from what I remember of seeing it, it looks pretty nice in terms of lighting. So yeah. Let's see. So it gives combo at a phase start at a base 50% to the person holding the AR, and it scales to 100%. And there's also status resistance of removing CS lock, and also the AR CS lock, which I believe is from that Furufumi AR.
Yep.
Leaked Furufumi AR. Okay, so this is like a good AR, in my opinion, because combo is a pretty strong effect situationally, and I think this is on par with the other AR we had for getting combo, such as the Kagutsuchi Ikutoshi AR, which you had to miss for combo at 60% rate. And even like the 5-star ARs that we've had for combo, which are like that Volos Goemon and Seth Gimal, have like a base 30%. So it's like the phase start 50% is like fine. It's on par with a 5-star AR.
It's better in that case if it's 35% only per hit.
Okay. Also, its restrictions are magic, snipe, and blow, and these are pretty good restrictions in my opinion, because magic and snipe have a lot of good like targets that you want to hit, and blow usually has like some powerful effect at some low shoddy rate though, that it's nice to have combo on all of these units. Let's see. So going through the examples, I guess you would use it on people like Mugen Wakan Tonka, so that you can like roll that coin flip and chance this combo to everybody on the entire team. It'd also just be good on people who want to hit a lot of times, like Shurong. Like I just got back from doing that last HDQ where you wanted to chase a bunch of flat damage in the last event, and it would have been nice to have like, you know, a free combo if you weren't using Nyarlathotep on him. Even like Sarutahiko from that last event would have liked that combo. What was the other person I was gonna say? Oh yeah, for example of like the blow type unit that would have liked it. I was gonna say Nodens, even though nobody uses him. It's just an example of that yeah, if you have like, oh yeah, there's like Onsen Miniaki. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, if you have like a blow unit with powerful effects like that, but they aren't at the highest rate, you can try coin flip this combo and try to get better proc rates from it. The CS lock resistance, I don't really have much thoughts on it, to be honest, because it's like CS lock itself isn't a very common debuff, and I think it's more interesting to play around the CS lock from the people who give CS lock, like Igolnock and that Furufumi leaked AR, but the fact that you have the option to not play around it is pretty good, so I don't really know what to make of this status resistance at the moment. Because I like saving the CS, it's just that maybe you don't want to, I don't know. So, but if there's like an option and it works, then maybe this is good. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, you can use it with a Furufumi like the AR if you just want the attack boost, but not the actual charge lock. Because, you know, it is a free 2x attack boost if it actually goes off. So it doesn't always go off, but that is an option. But yeah, this AR, I kind of glanced and didn't think much about it first, but I think it's the beauty in it is in the nitty gritty. Between 50% being the highest combo rate we have for an equipment effect, and it being instantly available, and like the on-miss one was Kagutsuchi, and like the superior restrictions in terms of magic and snipe and blow, whereas it's always been restricted to just like thrust and blow units only. It's like magic and snipe are insane ranges to have it on. They're like the best plus ranges for combo, and this is like Jurong has been dying for ages when it comes to equipment, because there was like not a single decent AR for him. Really, you could like maybe build his charge a bit faster for the first turn, and maybe you could inflict fear if you move him. But this is probably the first really good AR for Jurong, just because you can get combo and inflict that flat damage twice now. And there's plenty of other units like that for the same reason as Mug said. He already brought up Jurong, but there's also Arachne, her a 4-star version, base 4-star version, because she does give an insane amount of charge full for every unit she hits, and she's doubling on that. I think she gives like 20 for every enemy she hits, and if she's in like snipe range and she's hitting 2 units, then that means if she has combo, then she can be bestowing 80 CP on a single turn, which is kind of fucking dumb. And, you know, it doesn't have to go on LE directly, it can go on every other teammate, but yeah, any other teammate with LE on board will be able to do some self-heal twice over with the range, and without needing to bring a native combo bestower. There's also plenty of other healers that can benefit from this, but essentially any stackable effects such as charge full or flat damage or heal works very well for this AR, and the fact that it's on large range is an excellent part of it. It's also good for you know, exploiting those native chance on hit effects, such as with Tuaring, with his logic bomb. Now he can fish roar twice, so can Barghest with his logic bomb at home. Then there's also Coco Pelli who can equip this, of course. There's also Arc who can equip this, and yeah, there's a good selection of units. You can even... Jambavon doesn't need to equip this directly, but someone else can exploit the combo twice from that for the chance of break. And as for spreading combo itself, you did mention Wakan Takamigan. There's also Sonic Tomorrow if you happen to have him. He does spread buffs too, it's just that it's not generally helpful. But this AR makes him a bit more helpful in being able to bestow that nice effect. And then there are differential hit strategies you can make use of, such as from this past event with Fabulous Summer Host. We got Perron recently. Pair him up with Gurngotch, and then you can sort of steal all range with a limited range unit like Miniaki, and then attack in all range for the second hit with this combo, which is nice. And, you know, anyone can exploit this, not even just Miniaki, anyone who works well with Oz. Besides this, you may want to use this for the CS lock resistant effect. As you mentioned, you know, there might be some interesting plays with the Yugo and Malko Furufumi Leak AR. But there's also, what's it called? A couple units can equip this AR that directly inflicts CS lock to themselves. If for some reason you want to get their charge up without them denying it, then this AR is equipable on Yasuyori's Sunshine variant, as well as Ifrit's Treasure variant, who both self-inflicts CS lock. So yeah, there is quite a few uses for this, unlike the previous 4-star AR, and it being on magic units is just ridiculous. So yeah, that's all my thoughts on the effects of this. I do think the art here is quite gorgeous. The only downside is it has 2 twink/girls/feminine, so it's not my type, but otherwise the lighting is gorgeous, the scenery is nice, and it's very bold and sharp, and anatomically, well, not anatomically, but, you know, accurate to the original design. So that's very nice in my books.
Yeah. Alright, I should pull the chat up. Do you have the chat?
Oh, sorry, I didn't give you the chat. Do you really want to read the chat right now? We have one more equipment to go.
No, we have 2 more, but I just wanted to have it ready.
Yeah, sure. Let me fetch the chat link. My bad.
I'll just move on. I don't have anything else to say. Basically, use this AR if you want combo and want to fish for it at a coin flip rate. It's fine. Okay, moving on. Oh, I guess you can say the moving on. It feels weird if I just say it.
Moving on. Wait, did you not want to read the chat? I sent you the link, so you can read the chat if you want.
Okay, I'll read the chat then.
Yep.
Okay, close the poll. Hello to y'all. Yay, Housamo stream. Hello, yo, everyone. The artist is Gozu Farm. I love their art. It's a festival. Festival's Sweaty Bara AR. Yeah, it's pretty good for the people who pull for art, in my opinion. Because it's 3-star, and usually usually I see like worse art for even the 5 stars. So yeah. Hello everyone, Dizzy Eyes, High Gazer, Pretty, Harvey says a mountain emoji. I love this AR. The effects are pretty fun, but the rates are not. Of course, the Glazer Harvey is here.
Is that new slang? Is this new Gen Alpha or Z slang that I need to learn? What is Glazer?
Glazer's like, I guess, cocksucker.
Okay, interesting.
2 milk emojis. Did you also change your YouTube profile picture, you fucking fruit? It's been like this for months. This shit's at like 75% proc rate for me because I kept pulling for Oguchi memorabilia. I'm loading lack of sleep. Okay, that's all the comments for now.
That's all she wrote. Thank you, Milk, for covering that. We will now cover the 5-star equips, and we'll be starting off with the Oguchi Tajikarao one. Go ahead.
Okay, so we're finally doing this one. Okay, so this Oguchi Taji AR has a lifesteal of 250 HP at base that scales to 500 at a 40% base rate before hitting. The other effect is before being hit, 250 HP to self and allies at a base 40 to 80%. Base 40% rate to allies 1 square away and self. Personally, healing effects on ARs are kind of trash, and this is not really an exception, other than the fact that you might be able to do like a cheeky revive if like one of your units is dead, and then like this heals them, but they're also outside of the attack range. Yeah, honestly, I think this is a pretty trash AR that I'm never gonna use because healing is not very important in this game or the meta. You can get a lot of hits in because there's like long slash and shot, but if you're like doing a lifesteal of 250 at a base 40% rate, that's like 125 HP per hit basically on average. So like you probably have better options at that rate. Just like use blessing or some shit instead. So yeah, not much to say about this AR. The art looks kind of uncanny to me, so it's not my favorite. And yeah, there you go. That's all my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I sort of think Oguchi's eyes are like popping out of his skull right now, so it's not my favorite Oguchi art. It's a bit off model there. Taji, meanwhile, looks like he's been chiseled out of stone, so I guess that's on brand for him, but in an uncanny way. Looks like fucking Saruhiko 2.0. Other than that, I mean, it is a redundant AR in terms of the effect relative to the free maxable missionaries AR. At base level in release, it's straight up just worse, where you can actually max the missionaries one. This one is just, as you said, 125 HP on average or less than that. Meanwhile, you get like 80%, 300 HP with the missionaries one when you max it, so you're probably gonna use that one instead if you really want lifesteal with Oz or some shit. It's nice that you can just equip this on people with native long range, or in very least long slash units. So, but at that point, you're really scraping through units that are tanks as well, since why else would you be bringing this if not on tanks? So you might want to bring this for units like Oguchi, Magami, his rare version, Tajikaro's river version, but also units like Smoky God, Spool version, Ibumishi's rare version, Fenrir, if you really want to use Fenrir, his treasure variant, Bilam Badr's Oedo variant, and Ahab's rare version. And
yeah. Oh, you can keep going.
Yeah. Well, if you want to exploit the other thing, then yeah, you can just use Taunt or Golden Gotch so that people have multiple times to reroll for that team heal, but you know, I don't know if you want to do that. It's like so much effort just for heal, which is just use Ellie, man. Just use Ellie. Jeez.
Okay, so the one exception that I will say, even though this AR is pretty awful, is that some healing is better than no healing. So if you're ever trying to do a solo, this AR might like be fine. Kind of like how I keep using this stupid Kuma Akiha welfare AR just because I want to get like 500 HP. So yeah, maybe there's a use case there. But other than that, it's pretty trash. Especially for a 5-star AR, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the use itself of trying to do a solo is also very specific, and generally you're only doing that for style, not for actual optimal play. But yeah, if you are doing solo clears or dumb shit like that, then this could be an okay AR. Particularly on units that are designed for soloing, like, I guess, Bathym, now that he has his Evo, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, it's not a great AR. Honestly, even that the combo AR is far better and more generally useful than whatever this is. So, tanking sucks, healing sucks. Let's move on. Alright, last equipment of the batch. Do you have something to say? Sorry.
No, I was gonna say okay.
Okay. Yeah, Jugo and Shiva. This one's actually, well, I'll let you take it over. Go ahead.
So this is 5-star AR drawn by very common DXT, and it has a guaranteed phase start pull on every enemy by 1 square. And the second effect is this opponent turn start apply protection to self and allies horizontally adjacent at a base 20% rate. Okay, so this phase start pull is actually pretty nice because I'm not used to gacha ARs actually having guaranteed rates. So the fact that we had a guaranteed rate after suffering through dumb bullshit like Christmas Z's still not having like guaranteed pull or whatever nonsense, this is actually kind of nice. The fact that it's equipable by blow and shot is kind of disappointing because I think the people who needed the most was Slash.
Slash and long slash, yeah.
Yeah. I guess blow units might like it, but honestly I feel like a lot of blow units are just pseudo none units, so I'm not really too sure about that either. And shot really didn't need this either. But I guess you can just equip it on somebody else on your team and use it to help out the other people, but these restrictions are not my favorite. Other than that, yeah, if you have a quest in which this pull would be useful, use it. That's basically it.
Yeah, it's too generally useful to really give any specific examples of it.
It's also just like quest dependent. It's like you have to know that the quest you're going into, this AR would actually help. Because if it's something like, you know,
Shinagawa,
a quest for everything is just like appearing in the front anyways, then there's no fucking point.
Yeah.
So yeah. Alright, what else do I have to say?
Protection and art.
Oh yeah, the protection. The protection part is actually kind of interesting because it's on an opponent turn start. So this opponent turn start timing is pretty late. So despite the fact that this protection is going to be weak as hell, it most likely won't like cuck you because usually you're applying protection preemptively before enemies attack you.
Oh, that's a good point.
So yeah, even though there's like a slight chance of getting that level 1 protection, if you're like actually doing tanking, you're probably not going to run into this. So if you're a whale though, you get the max protection of 40%. I still wouldn't fish for it because that's not what you want to be doing when you're trying to tank in the first place, but you know, free protection is nice. Oh yeah. I'm not sure about this timing, about opponent turn start, about whether this is the first time we've had it on an AR, but if it is, cool. I'd like to see more of it, but that's just me.
I'd like to see more of that effect too. We haven't, like, it was released first with Akiha, and then we only had like 5 or 6 effects since they use the same one. It's way too restrictive, but it's a nice effect to have.
Yeah. About the art, I think it actually looks pretty okay. I'm not surprised that it was DXD, but I feel like Shiva kind of conveys something, even though he's masked.
I like the art's execution, but there's like something uncomfy about Jugo's meaty hand on Shiva's face like that. I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't give me the right vibe. Well, if Shiva's fine with it,
I think if you're drawing Jugo, it's just like you're kind of doomed.
Maybe. I don't know how to feel about it. It's just... Also, I guess Shiva holding onto his 6 eyes too. It's very weird. It gives me weird feelings. Alright. As for my thoughts on this, I'll just add on to what you're talking about was the effect. You're right, you need to know what the quest does ahead of time, which means it's mostly going to be useful for farming, but you're never going to use this for farming because just use boosters instead. But it's still good for like if you failed the challenge the first time and you know that they're going to come in another time, or you're going to have another attempt, then you can use this to secure enemies in place. It's not the most interesting for challenges since you could just do something more directed at that point, but it's also useful, for example, if you're farming in event drop quests. So if you're able to bring any AR, then this is definitely one of the ones that will let you use long slash and slash farming much more effectively. Of course, they can't actually equip this directly, but in practice for those viable maps, you only really need 1 or 2 slash or long slash units at most. So by de facto, you'll have like 2 other slots that you can use for this one. And you know, you kind of like usually need to poke someone in the back anyways. In that case, it'd be good on a shot unit, if not a blow unit. It is always an unfortunate restriction to have. But yeah, I think the protection is nothing interesting, but I do think that your point of the timing not interfering with your own is interesting enough to make me think about it. But yeah, it's gonna be a shitty effect either way. It's like, if you're not gonna max this AR, but you're not, it's gonna be like, what? Guards you from 10% of the damage? It's not great, so whatever. It might as well be one of those weapon resistance effects. Yeah, that's all my thoughts for this, so.
Alright, what I was gonna say that this is pretty good in the event farming right now. Or like the wide slash map. At least in my opinion, it just makes things kind of dumb if you have like Summer Taji. So yeah, if you have it, use it.
I just realized Summer Taji can't equip this. That's dumb. That's dumb. What the fuck?
Yeah. It's dumb. Okay, I'll read the comments because there's actually quite a bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Nice ARR. Art-wise, I don't know about everything else. Tajikarao, get yo dog. This shit is so ass, but I am Oguchi Magami's strongest soldier. This is talking about the Oguchi Taji AR.
Yeah, not great healing.
That art is so peak. I love the cameos and added Lander as a new artist to the game. These effects are ass though.
Oh, I just noticed the certain artwork coming back. I didn't realize that.
I actually did not notice him either until now. I did see Surtur and Tez on the right, but I never noticed.
It's like a Where's Waldo. The easiest Where's Waldo, and we still failed it.
Yeah. I was like, how did I miss this? Okay. Why isn't he seated, you faker? He literally is. Maybe if you bothered to open the game once in a while and look at those supports, you'd know that. Well, probably not maxed. So, this YouTube
Mushroom girl
thing. Is that mushroom? Okay. At least the food art is nice. They're so cute together. But their dynamic might get stale. Weird that thrust units can't use it, since both Perm, Shiva, and Jugo are thrust units. But okay, I guess. Yeah. Shiva and Jugo Usually below unit's weapon change to better range. Why use it? We're talking about the...
Do you want to take a risk and open that link?
Okay, I'll open up this link. Oh, it's just... The file name is Fuck You Show.
Jesus Christ, Harvey.
And the picture is of Harvey's fully maxed Oguchi Magami.
It makes you wonder what the real show is, our discussion or their kerfuffle in chat.
Show sends 4 question marks. What's the link? Evidence for the jury. Not you using shoes images. 4 exclamation marks. He doesn't have the signature iOS bar. My watermark. Is that a knife wielding emoji?
I think that's like the death thing. I don't know.
Oh, it's like the
Just
finger
to
waving.
death, yeah.
Then silence, or not the silence, but the shush.
Thank you for the verbal performative interpretation of their drama on the side. Okay, we're finally going to move on to the evolutions, but we'll actually be starting off with the batch that released before this event release. Starting off with Jiraiya, everyone's favorite and most well-known character in the game. So let me just pull out his footage, and we can now talk about Jiraiya, who has improved healing and now does not heal the enemy anymore, so that fixes it a bit, I guess, for his thrust range healing. And he now has arousal as well as concentration, arousal to self and all allies, 90%, and concentration to self, but only when his charge is fully maxed. And he can CS lock enemies and thrust range at move phase end at 90% rate, and weakness to the enemy directly ahead at movement phase end. So what does this do exactly? Well, he's just now a slightly improved minor mitigator. He can do better healing, and he can deny charge with the CS lock, in addition to his previous dazzle and healing on charge. He is also a slightly improved minor charge filler, so what's called, he, in addition to his base parts of bestowing 10 CP to allies, as well as the enemy for some reason whenever he attacks, as well as 8 CP whenever he's hit, and the Ardor whenever to allies whenever he's struck, as well as to enemies. He can now bestow that arousal to himself and allies only when he's at full charge. Oh yeah, he also has a better charge full when he actually does this charge too. And lastly, he is an improved local damage dealer and team damage amp. So of course he does start with Brawn and does have crit to self and allies left and right before he attacks at a pretty low rate that's slightly boosted by the concentration, which also boosts his damage. But only at charge 100, and he can't really even get crit when his charge is up anyways, because he'll be doing his charge attack instead, and he has weakness. I have one line of note for this: never use them. It's like literally the worst way to evolve someone. To just summarize how bad this evolution is, 2 of them are locked behind very stringent condition of having full charge at 100 CP. And he doesn't really build his charge that fast. He needs to be hit, and it's not at a guaranteed rate. And he needs to hit units with his very low range of thrust. And even if he does get it, like, is it worth it? It's arousal. It's like 10 CP per turn. Like, you can get Furufumi and does that like every turn without needing that dumb conditional. You don't need to give arousal board wide. It's like, why? And concentration to self just for like 1 basic damage amp, that's not worth it. What the heck? You just like, it is so fucking stupid. The worst. This is like actually, there's like an Astros tier Evo where it's like barely next to nothing, and then there's something like this which is insulting, because it's just like actual tossing darts on a dartboard of trying to pick up random bullshit effects. The CS lock doesn't synergize with anything. It just makes his shitty denial effects slightly less shitty or more versatile. And the weakness is like, yeah, more damage that's reliable for 1 square only. Somehow it's not even filling his full range of his already shitty range thrust. I don't understand why an evolution like this can exist. It's actually just like insultingly bad. Astros is like, it's, bad in that it shows that they didn't even give it a second thought about it. This is just like they put a lot of things on it, and all of it is still like horrendous shit on top of his base horrendous shit. I don't understand. It's so dumb. Sorry, go ahead.
I think the CS lock is because his CP was to the hit units as well. So they're like, you're charging the enemy's CP. I don't really like that anymore, so we're gonna deny their CS, even though you're CP charging them.
But they like fixed the heal by not making it heal enemies. Why couldn't they just remove the CP to enemies too? I don't understand.
Oh, do they do that?
Yeah, you can see that it used to be 2 hit units and allies, and now it's not. It's just the self and allies. It's so confusing.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I don't know then. This is still like a unit that I don't fucking remember exists, so I'm not like particularly bothered because I don't even remember I have him in the first place. I will say though that his CS can kind of snowball if you have a high SALV, but good luck with that.
Talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like these ranges at all. It's some dumb Christmas talking art bullshit. It's just like, get the hell out of here. Yeah. Low weakness range. Yeah.
In practice, you can ignore the concentration and arousal entirely. It's really just the other parts that have changed, which is just the range and like why? Why? It's so bad.
I have nothing else to say. This is a nothing unit.
Okay. Well, there is another nothing unit in this banner that we'll be covering next, but I don't think... I feel like they got better justice, and we'll cover it when it comes. But, yeah. Well, I'll just go ahead and read out the chat then. Thank you for covering the last two. A lot of text on chat, and it's just the usual shade throwing. Yeah, Joe and Harvey, the true ship. Love he. We have a Christmas Takamaro at home looking at us. Let's be real, this is far worse than Christmas Takamaro. At least Christmas Takamaro has like move utility and sometimes are moving buffs and like his, I don't know, defensive utility. He doesn't have any defensive utility. He's like, what is this shit? CS lock so that he can prevent the enemy from charging with his low rate CP that he does himself. It's stupid. Everything about this is stupid. Leave my king alone, you bully. I don't know which one you're talking about. Oof. I got Christmas Jiraiya. That's all to ever say about Jiraiya. Yeah, I'm glad he didn't get used to this unit. At least Christmas Jiraiya is decent-ish, but calm clear is far abundant. It takes solace that his Christmas variant exists, cause this is absolute trash. I couldn't agree more. So sad, he's no longer Omega Trash meme tier. Now he's just regular trash. I'm pretty sure he's still Omega Trash. Like, this, do you really believe this evolution, like, ascended him from Omega Trash to not Omega Trash? This is literally, like, weakness 1 square ahead is the only practical thing you gain from it. CS lock, like, enemies barely get their charge unless they're designed to get their charge every time, and it's already too short range to, like, normally hit the, the charge attackers in the very back, like Perron or Ramu or some shit like that. It's like, it's not going to be useful to CS lock, and even then, CS lock is only lasts for, like, 1 turn. Or 2 turns, rather, so it's not great. And arousal concentration do not exist because you're not going to get your charge full. And the healing is like, it's healing at thrust range. Just, no, it's still trash. Like, Omega Trash. Nothing has changed. Oh my god. You have Mountain Kengo, so you don't need this. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, as a reminder, he can't actually get his crit on the turn he gets charge up, so it's like conflicting utility there. You'll have to wait for the turn after to exploit the concentration to get a high rate of crit to 42%. Wow. Also, what the fuck? He has full charge effects when he can't self-charge? Yeah. He has a few self-charge effects, but they're all, like, unreliable and shit. I believe in you, Jiraiya. Life Hunters just wants to hide the true potential he could hold. True potential is just being a Christmas unit filler. Literally never talks about him unless someone else brings up how mid he is. You were actually talking about Jiraiya as your king? That's messed. Didn't realize that in Evo. Never understood units who have on-move ranges the same or less than their weapon. It's supposed to be like a differential effect, but yeah, this is not acceptable because he's already so weak. What is with this restriction? It doesn't help or balance anything. It's pointless. Okay, however, you keep acting like that and I'll do something to you. Threatening anchor emoji. Okay, that's it for Jiraiya, thank God. So we will now cover the next unit in the batch. Bathym, go ahead whenever you're ready. No Cosmo.
Okay, so this guy got a new Skivo in which he, on miss, applies Weapon Change Snipe to himself and combo at a 90% rate, and after moving can apply Break to enemies in a snipe range at 90% rate, and Charm to enemies in a shot range at 60% rate. He deals extra damage to Charm now, at 2 times status advantage, so that's nice. And before hitting, he does 1k flat damage to hit units. I don't know what to make of this Evo. I don't think I have this unit either. So basically, this is kind of like, this unit is kind of like supposed to be some sort of like, what is it? He hits the enemies and then he like runs away to like the very back. I never really liked that gameplay because it would like fall apart kind of easily. And the serve on miss, weapon change snipe, and combo is kind of like playing into that a little bit. I will say though that the fact that he has a somewhat high rate charm is actually kind of nice because you're probably going to be moving him to get that break effect. And the charm is kind of nice considering in like the last set of challenge quests they weren't like immune to charm or something, so it was like a pretty strong status effect. That could just be a one-time thing, but maybe you'll like see more of that in future challenge quests. Other than that, I don't really think too much of this skill evolution, even though it technically like buffed his damage by potentially like, was it 4.8x? Yeah, because you have break and the charm damage multiplier. I'm not like the biggest fan of this like miss to get combo and snipe. It kind of reminds me of Kresnik, but like weird.
You don't know how to feel about it, or you don't like it?
I don't know. I'd just like rather use Kresnik instead of like playing around with this. You know, push away, apply curse to enemies. It kind of, you know, I was thinking about it. It kind of reminded me of like Raven Arthur. You know, like Bathym's entire like movement gimmicks, where it's like, yeah, he's gonna hit the enemies and then he's gonna like run away so that he doesn't get hit. And it's kind of like that same deal to me, where it's just like, I've tried to use it and it's really situational to pull off. Like, maybe you can pull it off, but I've always had a hard time trying it. So, I don't know.
I feel
maybe
like
it'll be easier now with charm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. With Raven Arthur, as you're mentioning, isn't his rates far worse than just what his gimmick is? He like has like shaky rates too, doesn't he? With his like, isn't his weakness only 50% or some shit like that?
Well, the thing about Raven Arthur, to me, that was like stupid, right? Is that he does this like pull, and then like he hits them, and then he pushes them back, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, don't you get cucked if they like have like 2 enemies in the same column? It's like, what is that nonsense? It's like kind of the same thing here with like Bathym. It's like, okay, you're supposed to hit the enemies right in the front row, and then you run away so that you don't get hit by them anymore. But it's like, if you think about it for like 1 second, right? It's just like, what if the enemies are like sniper shot range? It's just like, okay, then I guess you have to roll the 60% charm. It's just like, I don't know. I don't really like it.
I mean, I get what you mean. I do believe Bathym at least received a far better evolution than Jiraiya in terms of he has a strong purpose. It's just that the purpose itself is not very relevant for the most nowadays. It's like very designed for those Berserker Clash type quests. Large maps where you can face multiple enemies that don't have too many mechanics and that also don't have very large range. So that's like a lot of conditionals to look out for Bathym to be useful. And you know, you might as well just use like Valentine Kango at that point. But the point is he does have solo potential. It's just that it's in a very specific circumstance. And you know, it's like his effects aren't weak by any means. So like the break, for example, at least that's guaranteed, and like Raven Arsa's like 50% ES weakness. So it's very decent in the very least, and I can see the synergy between, you know, his decent filling charge and his charm ranges. His charm is only in short range when he moves, but because of his snipe range charge, he can also just inflict charm and retreat in back in the same breath, which is nice if you want to play around that retreat gameplay you're talking about. It's very situational, but you know, it's not like those quests don't exist, they just don't exist nowadays. But they definitely did exist in the past. So yeah, if you have Bathym, I guess he can, you know, he can help you carry quests from chapters 1 to 4 maybe, something like that. It's not great, but the purpose exists, and it does have a lot of a show-off thing, which is fitting for Bathym, because it's his, what's it called? His base kit is kind of designed like that too, isn't it? After his Evo especially, designed around solo.
Yeah, I do like when Life Wonders was in the early era where they kind of have like this thematic tie between the base kit and the variant kit.
Yeah, so
but
I feel like
I still think Bathym's gimmick is like kind of shit.
I mean, it is, but in the very least, it perfectly fits his style well of what's called being a flashy fighter, not necessarily an efficient or effective fighter. So yeah, he definitely has flashiness with his attacks. You know, can you go for really cheesy solo clears with him, but like, could you just board wipe everyone else with Oz or Oscar? Yes. So yeah, generally speaking, you're not going to be using Bathym for anything but for flashy bragging wins, which is, I mean, if you want to do that, sure. But yeah, definitely not completely pointless, just lacking in relevance in terms of playing optimally. But you know, he's not the worst in terms of just conquering as well. Guaranteed break's nice, at least. Yeah, that's it for my thoughts on Bathym. You can read out the chat, Milk, if you want.
Joe says, fast forward. Thanks you for the free stone Bathym. Now back to Abyss with you.
So true.
Literally the most who gives a fuck Skeevo ever. It's kind of interesting it fixes his horrible skill and lets him do something if you want to move him. That being said, I don't think Calm Debuffer is that much of a necessary role. Yeah, I was actually looking up Break, because I do remember that this is kind of a highish rate for Break.
Yeah.
Because Break is a little rarish, but then I scroll down the list and then I read that Festival of Hogan actually had like the same skill at 100% rate, so they kind of like copy pasted there.
Oh, interesting. Well, you know,
yeah.
5-star versus 4-star. It's nice that you can do it guaranteed, where Break is usually limited at 70 or 80%.
Yeah.
And you know, Break and Charm are nothing to sneeze at in terms of their debilitating effects too. They do just straight up deny the enemy from attacking or, you know, approaching.
Okay, I'm going back to the comments.
Yep.
I forgot he exited. I think it's for the best. But Bathym lets you stack Curse and Dazzle on units, and now you don't need to care about range to accomplish that, so there's some value in that. You can, but it's a little weird because you also want to get Charm, so the Dazzle doesn't really hit sometimes. And it's also on a wet hit trigger.
It's more like multiple failed safes, right?
After
if the charm fails,
the damage check.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
But you know,
I mean, if it works, it works. But I still don't like this guy's gameplay.
Oh, I don't like the gameplay either. But I definitely see that he, in the very least, has a gameplay niche to be playing in. So
yeah. Watching him move in the footage and still whiffing his charm tells me all I need to know about it.
At 60%, what do you want? It's not. No one promised it was gonna be 100%. Jeez.
Yeah, as Ara said, it's like multiple fail safes. It's just like, yeah, it's just like you use them, but you have to high roll. Sure. Okay, that's it.
Alright. Not bad for Bathym, but it's just about expected for Bathym. You're not going to use him, but he's not Jiraiya, so that's a win. Moving on to the final topic of this evolution batch is going to be Ganglie, and I'll be covering this one. So Ganglie has a bit of a weird evolution in terms of giving him some new utility that didn't exist too much before. He now has acceleration strengthening. He now deals 6 times damage with his acceleration for the first 10 turns. And he also now, out of nowhere, well, I guess not completely out of nowhere, but he's become a better tank, like actually more consistent. He has evasion on self, base start guaranteed, tenacity to self and allies every time he moves, 90%, and protection to self if he doesn't move. So there's just a lot of tankiness. You're always going to get a lot of defense from him if you play with him properly, which is very fitting to match with his 4-star kit, which is just known for its tankiness as well. And how does this work out with his existing roles? Well, as I mentioned or that before, he has a bit more damage now. He was a damage deal before, but it was kind of weird because it was only for his quick to fill charge, which he didn't actually get in his first turn. He starts with 80 CP, and he could get obstruct advantage on that. If he doesn't have his charge, then at thrust range, he can inflict weakness. So those were sources of damage. They weren't like too much, but they existed. Was acceleration strengthening, he can deal 6 times more damage, so he actually starts doing relevant damage. The issue is still, of course, going to be his range is still just thrust, and also the acceleration he gets is not refreshable, not even on charge. When he gives acceleration on charge, that's to allies, not to selves. So he only gets acceleration for 2 turns, like a smoky type anchor strengthening feat. It's not great, but it's, you know, you can refresh it with someone else, which we can talk about later. But yeah, as I mentioned before, the weakness and the quick charge from his combo, as well as after moving, as well as ADCP on arrival, kind of balances out his damage a bit more from what existed with his obstruct as well. And, you know, he does a bit of damage to Dark Lords, which does not matter. But yeah, he is also now a tank. Before, his tanking utility was not really tanking, it was more like occasional, if you're lucky, damage mitigation with combo and charm at a 40% rate. But now you don't need to rely on that shaky rate just for charm. Charm has been a bit more democratized, so it's not as amazing as people, as they thought it was back then. Now you can just have rely on things that are more standard, such as tenacity, protection, and evasion, in addition to his remove debuff on self at base start and his skill lock resistance. So a bit more tanky. What has not changed is, of course, acceleration to allies when he charges, which doesn't really match anything else in his kit, and the burn to self doesn't really synergize with anything either. But outside of that, what other recommendations? Yeah, bring this unit. If you're gonna bring this unit, you may want to use them with, or you should probably be using them with units that can give acceleration. Most notably, Gunzo, since he is, you know, going to be massively charge filling anyways. Works out quite well, and you may want to pair. If you're gonna be bringing someone who can give acceleration, you might as well bring other units that can synergize off of it, such as, well, there's Gunzo himself who has acceleration strengthening, his panic version. But there's also Willy Wildcat, who I believe has 1.5 times acceleration strengthening, and R19, who has board wide 2 times acceleration strengthening. And you may also want to bring a bit of additional rate amp so you can more safely fish that charm on the first turn. But other than that, yeah, Ganglie is not generally a unit you'll probably be using, but if you're gonna have acceleration on your team anyways, then Ganglie might be a choice to consider. That's all my thoughts on Spooky.
I think what he really needed was extra movement. I don't see it in this kit right now. I thought for sure he had extra horizontal movement, but I guess not.
Yeah,
I don't have this unit. so like, you know, I see like the waves and I'm like, oh, he has to have extra horizontal movement, right? Like beach step. But it's like, no, he doesn't. So it's like, okay. So yeah. I think that Nausea Tetsuok's AR would be pretty good on him then, because that gives the Omni movement, and he has combo to try to fish for it. And it also actually gives acceleration.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, if you have like, if you want to like use him and don't care about boosters or some shit for whatever reason, maybe you can like try fish for that. But yeah, I always like seeing Tenacity, and like I like instantly think of Yuma. It's kind of fun. I don't really think it would like synergize that much though, but it's kind of nice to see like Tenacity and be like 3 times Tenacity strengthening. I do think that the instant charge is kind of good though. Like you get 20k damage basically from his CS once it's up.
Yeah, it's
if the
decent.
acceleration is still there. It's pretty good for a 4-star in my opinion. Other than that, I don't know. It's like, I feel like this unit would like, I feel like I like the concept of this unit, but then it might feel like shit to play once I discover that he doesn't move horizontally that much. Because my instinct is to just, you know, move him all the time, even though you really only need to move him like once every 2 turns. That's always like a little awkward to me. So it's just like, whatever.
I feel like moving him's not really worth it just because you're just fishing for, what, charm again? Is it worth it? Not in my opinion, really. I guess you could move for tenacity, but I don't know. There's only a few units that give tenacity, so I guess it might be worth it, but you know, there are other units that do other things better, such as Kotaro or Ahab. Always those water units that have tenacity giving. But yeah, I don't think the incentive is good enough to be moving them, but it's there if you don't have any other tenacity bestowers. Okay, well, if we're done with this topic, I'm not going to read the chat this time. I'm actually just going to move on to the next topic because I'm covering 2 in a row. We'll actually be moving on to the next batch of evolutions. So we are now going to be starting off with Arachne-chan. So Arachne is... let's see. She received an evolution that is not really working with the rest of her kit, but it's still a nice effect. Kind of like a new role entirely. She now punishes all enemies with a bit of flat damage every time they're debuffed for the first 3 turns. In addition, she inflicts a new debuff from the previous event, Vanity, the no effect debuff that lasts for 1 turn, so every turn on the entire board, which is very nice and generous. And so that's obviously just going to exploit that flat damage effect instantly on board every time. And she also has Glint to self and allies 2 squares in the cross radius every move phase end at a shaky-ish 70% rate. It's going to be 80% without concentration she starts off with. But yeah, let's talk about the rolls here. She does have improved activation rate up, as I mentioned. In addition to the concentration itself, she has Glint self on move phase end at effectively 80% if you skill seed her at 90%. So it's not going to be too important either way because a lot of her effects are reliable anyways, and you probably don't want to be playing it for the long game. But if you do, then, you know, her other effects, such as with her new role with Vanity, is going to be much more useful, or guaranteed anyways, because she'll have concentration and she might even have a chance for Glint to assist that guaranteed effect. where she penalizes debuffs with both that flat damage per debuff effect through Vanity, as well as through her native Dazzle effects. Whenever she hits someone or misses someone, they'll either, they'll do like an effective thrust range or a shot range of Dazzle Infliction. Besides that, let's see. She has a bunch of unmodified rolls, which I'll just briefly go through. This is how divorced her evolution was from the rest of her kit. It really did not touch her ability to quickly fill a charge, which happens every time she attacks or misses, or even on her charge itself to self and allies. She also has that tall map mutually exclusive utility. Most notably, if you slot her in slots 1 or 3, then she can be used for offensive farming. She both pulls units in her upper right side, as well as gives attack up to her allies on her right, as well as those that are behind or ahead of her. So that can be nice has always been nice for tall map farming, because she can just bestow attack up to the entire tall map board, no matter where they are or how they spawn. The opposite side of that is if you slaughter in 2 or 4, it's not going to be guaranteed depending on spawning, but she can act more defensively by both pushing enemies away on the left side to her upper left, as well as applying defense up to allies that start either ahead of her or to the left of her. She also has other defenses, such as that Dazzle I mentioned before in effective shot range, whether she attacks or misses, and the remove debuff effect on her charge, and a bit of healing to herself and allies, which, those two remove debuff and heal effects are sped up by her quick charge full effects. But yeah, recommendations for this: utility for farming for Arachne is not really affected at all. You're just going to use her for slots 1 and 3 for attack up as usual. But she does have new utility in terms of having flat damage potential for challengers and unorthodox farming methods. You may want to stack this flat damage per debuff effect with others that have similar effects, such as Amaterasu or Tuaring or Bael's host variant. And you may also want to combine them with flat damage specialists, such as Sheldonabug's base 5-star or Nyarlathotep's Chapter 15 variant, as you can see in the footage. So yeah, it's like you're getting a brand new utility, and nothing from before has been changed or improved, but it's still nice to have because, that was perfectly functional on its own. Yeah, that's all I have to say. So, any thoughts, Smoke?
Did you say anything about this Arachne variant?
Oh yeah, I guess she could take advantage of that to boost everyone's charge full faster, because Tajikarao gives... I mean, you can elaborate on it since you brought it up, so... But...
Okay, so basically, the fact that this is like a phase start after the debuff, I think Amaterasu is kind of like that, but for some reason some Arachne's is better still.
Yeah, I think that's funny. Oh, also, Korpukuru has that flat damage effect on the entire board. 1000 HP only, I believe, so Arachne's already better than that, which is funny.
Yeah. So, the Tajikarau's variant in the last event was kind of funny because you could do this really big CP charge where you just stack a bunch of debuffs on phase start, and then the enemies would charge your CP. So if you use some Arachne who applies this after debuff skill and also the turn start vanity, 2 debuffs is pretty good. Pretty good for what is it? For that meme with Tajikarao variant. And also you'll get that flat damage at the same time. So since you're stacking a bunch of debuffs, it'll probably be around 15k HP if you get Arachne to get this skill off first. So it can add up.
Yeah. 15k HP.
Yeah, I was trying Tajikarao variant, and usually I was applying 10 debuffs on phase start.
Oh yeah, 2 board-wide debuffs is nice to have from Arachne. Guaranteed, so.
Yeah.
This is a lot more strong than it seems, just because of the synergy potential. Yeah, Arachne's evolution is kind of unassuming, but it's also, like, in the right team, kind of like a dumb, ridiculous effect or new utility entirely that you wouldn't have guessed to come from Arachne at all. That's nice to have, for sure.
Yeah. To be honest, Arachne is at, like, the power level that I really like for a 4-star, in the sense that she's like consistent with the attack up, defense up. She has like the memes with pushing and pulling, and she has like, you know, some debuffing and TP charging that I think is all pretty fair for a 4-star. Might be power creeps. It's probably power creeps now, but I think she's been like kind of a solidish pick for a few years. Maybe not as popular now, but I think she's pretty good for beginners.
Yeah, I mean, I think her utility sort of fell off when attack up became a lot more common, but this is not a nothing Evo in terms of, you know, now I'll just remember she exists because both that previous utility as well as this very, you know, meme utility, especially with new units like Neurolatotip existing, that was really, you know, increasing the utility of these utility flat damage based sort of strategies. So, very strong introduction to a new type of set of units with this flat damage imperative. Okay, well, if that's all we have to say about Arachne, then I'm gonna read the chat and then head it over to Milk. But let's see. I think it's for the best, but Bathym lets you stack Curse and Dazzle. You already read that, my bad. Bacon, sausage, ham, I need him. Talking about here. Oh, Ganglie.
That's Ganglie, yeah.
But matching a gold lock for some reason. Bathym is one of your favorite characters from the early chapters, so you're glad that his cards are getting a bit more love and slowly becoming more playable. I mean, yeah, he was definitely like unusable trash tier before his evolutions, and now he's just like gimmick, solo, clear meme potential. So he's not useless, but it's just like not optimal. It's just for showing up whenever you use Bathym, which, I mean, you may complain about it, but I think that's perfectly fine for Bathym just because his character is exactly that. He's not doing it for efficient clears. He's doing it just for the stardom, the starstruck audience. So if you like Bathym and you like his gimmicks, then you should be playing like that too, I guess. You have him on an old account, and you pull him every time you see Ganglie. Well, good luck every time then. You left, what you missed? You missed the first set of evolutions, as well as maybe Arachne? I don't know. Tuaring's new mom, to keep him company alongside his big sis Amaterasu and Nyarlathotep, the crazy uncle. So true. This skill evolution is so funny. Literally just exists so you can pop nullify Reflective pop-up enemies with 0%. That's actually a really good point. I was more focused on the fact that it could trigger it with Loki or something, which is why I was just, you know, that would be a bad thing. But generally speaking, most enemies don't have that. They start with nullify or Reflective buff. So Arachne existing just to remove them instantly is very nice. But yeah. Yeah, this queen, give us nothing. I don't agree with that assessment, Herbie being a hater as usual. Sora Sahutu Hiko is not real, it's 3 CP per debuff. I mean, I'm sort of leaning towards what you're saying, Harvey, but also I've seen most footage, and it's like semi-convincing if you really build around it. It's kind of funny she's the best vanity spreader in the game after the event that introduced the debuff. At least the Golden Knock focuses more on giving it to allies, but Bael is even worse in comparison now. Yeah, well, he synergizes with Arachne kind of, in terms of stacking that flat damage effect. You feel like her evolution, you feel like I should, oh my god, English. You feel like you should like her evolution more, but it feels weirdly underwhelming. Well, you're gonna need to do more team building. It's pretty much just like she fits perfectly in with the previous Valley Summer host banner. They're not really exceptional on their own, but if you know how to team build, then they can be good. But she does need some team building to make use of that second function, because it is very specific. But, you know, she still has strong direct farming utility. And if anything, you know, she helps with farming ever so slightly by just reducing everyone's health by 1.5 HP every turn, or every phase. Anyway, that's it for the chat on my end. We can now move on to the last two evolutions, going to be covered by Milk Housamo. You're going to be starting off with Tajikarao. Go ahead whenever you're ready.
Okay, so we're talking about Tajikarao's skill evolution. So the first thing he got was phase start, defense up to self and allies in this cross range at 100% rate. 2 square radius. And then he got 2 turn start effects. One is healing 1000 HP to himself at an 80% rate. And he applies nourishment to allies in a 2 square diamond radius at 70% rate. Not himself, only allies. So to summarize this Evo, it's shit.
I mean, the defense up is new too.
It's new, but the thing about this Evo is that the difficult part about playing around with Tajikarao was like when he got hit, he removes all his buffs after the damage calculation. So this defense up for Tajikarao himself only works for 1 hit. And the turn start effects are somewhat underwhelming. Like the 1k HP to himself is fine in the sense that it's a pretty big number on turn start, and Tajikarao is like tanky whether he has tenacity and defense up, and when he has non-buff strengthening, but I don't think people really like that tanky gameplay. So this is kind of not relevant to most people, this turn start 1k HP, because most people don't like playing around him getting hit. And the nourishment to allies is kind of dumb because it's at a 70% rate, so it's not guaranteeable, and it's not to himself either, so he can't take advantage of that healing. He doesn't really need extra damage, but it would have been nice to have extra healing if they're gonna lean more into that direction, but I guess 1k HP is big enough for whatever. Honestly, to me, it's very underwhelming. I really didn't use like Summer Tajikarao and think, well, it would have been nice if my allies had more defense and healing. No, that wasn't what I was thinking. I would have been like, get rid of his shitty ass 70% like CP to himself turn start. Like, and instead we have like more of that. Like more of these shaky rates of like 60 and 70 and 80. It's like, no.
It's like vaguely to be expected for healing and tanking effects, but yeah, still sucks.
So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about it. It's like fucking stupid when Summer Shiva is on the same banner and he got like this pinpoint precision skill evolution where he got like Ardor for free, Omni movement on turn 1, and like his weapon change all got changed from 2 turns to 3 turns, and then Tajikarao gets like defense up, which works for 1 hit. Like, okay. It's fucking dumb.
It's 2 allies too, but I know he has that permanent defense, which is something, in the very least, even if he loses all his buffs. Problem is if he loses all his buffs and you give him attack buffs but no defense buffs, then he's just vulnerable. And he doesn't have a way to refresh his defense buffs too in a single phase, so he's like a very weird tank because, you know, he can boost it mostly in the very first turn for his allies and himself, but if you design like more allies to, you know, complement that by giving damage instead, then you're not gonna have a good time. You'll probably need like a second defensive unit to cover the later turns, which is a bit strange, but yeah, I don't know. The healing is very nice though. 1000 on self every like turn start. That's a pretty meaty amount, I'd say. So could be good for tanking, but again, you know, you're using Tajikarao for farming, tanking. Definitely given an injustice compared to Shiva, but I feel like no matter what, if you just move Shiva and exchange him with some other unit, like Taji would seem like a decent unit either way. This doesn't really change how good he is because you're not going to use him for tanking, but he was good to begin with, just not as good as Shiva. No matter what, Shiva would make any other unit on the same banner look like complete shit unless they're like fucking walk on Tonka Migan or Oscar or some shit like that. So it's inevitable that everyone else will just pale in comparison, and the other 5-star would look far worse. But you know, Taji's pretty good. This is me making stuff on stuff on the spot because I did not write notes for him. So maybe you could tell. But that's all I have to say about him.
No, I think this is kind of like a not really game-changing Skivo. Like, you read it and you know exactly what you're gonna get. It's not like something you have to test, because it's like, okay. Like, I guess the thing that I'm underselling is that previously he didn't really have defense past turn 1, but it's still just like, just clear the board. It's like not that hard. Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna move on.
Sure. Want to move on? Yeah, you can cover the chat next time, so let's just cover the last topic then. We're moving on to Oguchi and Magami. Surely he's the best unit in the batch since he's the last topic. Surely.
Okay, so Oguchi Magami got a skill evolution, where one is that his buff steal got buffed to 90% rate, which is nice. And his tenacity to himself after he's hit got buffed by also 20%. So now it's at a 70% rate. And he now has this interesting effect of applying CS weapon change all to himself before being hit at a 90% rate. And the CS weapon change lasts for 2 turns. So effectively, he can have this up once every 2 turns. Effectively, because the trigger is on being hit. The other thing is that after debuff, he applies protection to himself and allies 1 square around him at a 90% rate. And when he's hit, he can apply bind to the enemies that hit him at a 70% rate. Overall, I think this is a pretty good skill evolution, because previously Oguchi was kind of hard to use as a tank because of his like somewhat shaky rates. So the fact that he got a buff to some of them, not all of them unfortunately, because he would have liked it for the attack up at Brawn 1 as well. But the fact that he got a buff to his buff steal and his tenacity is pretty nice. And the fact that he can now apply a damage debuff through bind is pretty good for his tanking abilities as well. Even though this is also at a 70% rate. And he also has that protection, which he can try to fish for. Because if you're getting hit, you might be encountering debuffs, so this is kind of nice as just like a preemptive move, or if you like manage to trigger it yourself. Okay. The thing that's unique now is that this CS weapon change all is really nice on 2 accounts. Is that it was like kind of annoying to play with him because he was just like rust ranged all the time, so it was like kind of slow. But the thing that was good is that his CS kind of healed for a lot because he can max his SALV, and it was like 1.2k HP. And now that he's like CS weapon change all, if you get this up, this is like pretty big healing, and he can actually kind of board wipe if he has this buffs and the fact that your Oguchi Magami should be SALV 100. Yeah. So I would recommend pairing him with CP chargers because his current method of getting CP is just getting hit, but that's also at a 70% rate. And for that, I would recommend using the recent unit, Igolonak, because that boar has good synergy with this character because he can trigger the after debuff protection from Oguchi Magami, and Igolonak also provides tenacity. So you get two defensive buffs if you use them together.
Oh,
so that's pretty nice.
Yeah, good point.
Right. I think that's all I have to say about it. I think this is a pretty good skill evolution. It's actually very good, in my opinion, in the sense that its functionality kind of remained the same, but it also changed in a somewhat major way. Like he's still trying to be playing it. He's still being played as a tank, but he just feels a lot better because you get a board-wide nuke with a good SALV, and you can also have Vine for good challenge quest denial. So yeah, I like the skill evolution, and honestly, I wonder why the intern couldn't use their brain power on Tajikarao's skill evolution after reading Oguchi's, but I guess we can't have nice things.
Yeah. I mean, I thought his evolution was pretty good too at first, but after playing with him directly, it's like, my opinion slightly reduced a bit. It's still like, okay, he's actually usable for what he's meant to be used for, but it's like, if you're doing what he's meant to do and getting hit, it's kind of sometimes hard to time getting his all range up while also having both damage amps up at the same time. Because it's like, you know, you might accidentally kill them before you can get both up, and you might already have been hit before your charge gets up, which means that the next turn you don't have your all range ready. So it's a bit of a weird timing play, generally speaking. And if you're trying to like make up for it by just like, you know, skipping the line and giving him extra charge full, then it's like you're kind of ignoring the rest of his kit that's designed for it in the first place anyways. It's like, it's definitely strong and usable, but, you know, in practice, it's like, what exactly are you going to be stealing buff-wise with Oguchi that's useful in, like, relevant quests? If we're talking about things like enemies with all range, do you want to steal all range when that means they'll get, like, freaking blow range visibility or some shit like that? It's like, it's a bit funny if that happens, honestly. And you know, it's like he does need additional help because as much as he tries to be his own personal tank, he really does need some extra defense, because his tenacity, he needs to be hit first before he makes use of it going on, and his protection, of course, needs to be debuffed, which isn't always going to happen. So yeah, Igolonak is a very excellent partner for him, so I'm glad that you mentioned him. Maybe he's better than I would have experienced him since I didn't use Igolonak, but yeah.
Oh, it felt pretty good. I like using Igolonak with I don't think I mentioned it, but I used him with that Anniversary Genociders AR, where if you get hit, it removes the debuff in front of them. So I've been trying to fish for that CS lock removal with that AR, because CS lock is kind of annoying since it lasts for 3 turns as Igolonak, but with that Genociders Anniversary AR, you can like theoretically remove it. Honestly, it doesn't work that much in practice because the enemies might also be applying their own debuffs, so that's not the thing that gets removed first, but it's something I've been trying.
And that's another issue with Oguchi. He doesn't really have too many counters towards debuffs directly, just the protection, not really removing debuffs directly, so it's, you're probably going to want to bring some extra debuff mitigation at the same time. A lot of the most relevant quests now do inflict debuffs, right? Between, like, all of the farms and what's it called, even most challenges. For Oguchi, yeah, he'll definitely want some debuff mitigation most times or not. And I don't think Igolna provides anything like that either. Obviously, in that sense, his entire thing is wanting debuffs.
Yeah. I feel like challenge quests have moved to debuffs because challenge quests have mostly been like base kits for the most part.
Unfortunately.
And base kits themselves have mainly been focused around applying debuffs, in my opinion, recently. So yeah. Like, obviously, the last summer event was like completely debuff themed, but yeah. You saw a little bit of it with, like, I don't know, Christmas Horus last year, and like, what is it? We had Valentine Taishakutan earlier this year.
I actually don't even remember the challenges from Valentine Crossroad
Those are
at
the
all.
base kits.
Oh, that's
5 people in a wide map, base kits, 2 phases.
Incredible.
3 phases for Christmas Awado because they have the minifigures for phase 2. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty much it.
Okay, well, thank you for that. We are done all the topics now. Woo!
Okay, I'll read the chat.
Yeah, God.
Mega LMAO buff. Taji Bros. Tajikarao. He's cute. At least he's a good Christmas Tuaring target. All his attack buffs are relatively rare aside from Nourish, and the death up with Tenacity is nice too. Yeah, he's good with Christmas Tuaring. I was trying that when Christmas Tuaring came out, but moving Tajikarao isn't really the best feeling. But yeah. Oguchi's buff is the best because it lets him actually do his job.
It's an interesting take.
I don't really know if I personally agree with it. With that, like as Ara said, you kind of do need to give him defense up, like some amount of defense to tank as well. So I've been using it with Igolonok, but if you're using it with someone else, it's just kind of like, what the hell do I do? So it would have been nice if he had more inbuilt defense other than the after debuff protection. So I'm not sure if I'd exactly agree to actually do his job. This Skivo is certified Yummers. Yeah, that's pretty good. Smash. Igolonok also provides Ardor and Limit for a CS if the timing is right.
Yep.
It would be pretty hard to apply Limit as CS. I know it's technically possible if you, like, remove it right before Oguchi's attacks, but I think it's hard to do in practice. The Ardor, though, should be pretty easy because it's just 100 CP, so that should be fine. Gut Bustin'. My lovely buddy. It's okay. Let's just wait for 5-star Oguchi with an even stronger kit. His voice will sound like Kanji, Persona 4, and Vincent Catherine. I don't know those Japanese voice actors, so
Yeah, same.
I'll just take your word for it.
I feel like 5-star Oguchi is fairly likely, and maybe even soon, because it has been a while since the thing, and I'm pretty sure Oguchi is generally popular. Maybe that's just, bias on my part, though.
I don't know, to be honest, because it's been like 3 years. I don't know what this artist is doing. Like, I saw him draw for like Crave Saga or some shit with that somewhat Oguchi lookalike like 2 days ago. So I'm like, are they really interested in drawing a variant for Oguchi? Apparently, they just seem to be like working on every other game other than Light Wonders. So yeah, who knows?
I mean, if they're active, that's a plus. Just hope they're not like Gama and have some issues with consistency with that one company. I doubt they are, though, since Gama is probably just an exceptional case, so Like, if
Yeah,
he's popular, then
it's not like an inactivity thing. It's just like me thinking, are you like actively avoiding life
Hopefully not.
wonders, like from like some bad art experience or something? I'm not sure, because it's weird to like see him like work in like Daichi Kota's gacha, and then he's like working in Crave Saka. It's like, okay, what is your deal?
loyalty is
But-
not there.
Yeah, that's kind of off topic.
I mean, I
Well-
sort of get what you mean. There's like a lot of other popular artists that religiously, and not even religiously, but at least occasionally share Housamo-related works, including retweeting other artists and talking about, you know, or just making random art of their Housamo character. I guess you didn't really see much art of Oguchi then.
I think the artist actually likes Oguchi a lot. He had this whole like tweet thread about how to draw his like fur pattern because it looks like butt plugs basically, but yeah. Honestly, I think that while I'd like Oguchi, I'm not sure about how fast it will come. Because it's like weird. Like have you ever like looked at the current no variant list? It's like very pitiful. So like he'd be like the best option for Life Wonders to do furry bait in my opinion, in like, you know, that 2021 era. And your like other options are like
Yeah.
Mephistopheles and like Hote and the Mugans, who probably aren't getting a ski, or probably aren't getting a variant, but who knows with Life Wonders nowadays.
I think
It's just like,
it's like, let's just bridge this to the end of the discussion since we're talking about Oguchi, but also about like what's called guesses. So I was thinking that Oguchi is. It would be a good time to have his, you know, reprint of his original release here, and then immediately after in summer to have his actual variant come out. I feel like they've done that before with summer reprints and then having summer 2 have the event, but maybe I'm just misremembering or, you know, trying to manifest my delusions. But it's, you know, it's a good time. We only know 2 units right now coming out for summer 2, I believe. Is that right? It's going to be Enigma and what's his face? Tonkabi's or something. So, like, there's still like 2 others out there, and we don't know who they're gonna be. I feel like Oguchi would be a good choice because, like, you know, summer dog theme seems to work out popularly in general.
I think Life Wonders is gonna try to do half and half. I think those are just the furries, and then we're gonna have like
No, I can do
some
this.
stupid humans that I don't care about, like, I don't know, Nodens.
They don't even count as human, but they don't count as
Okay.
furry either. Yeah.
I'll just send you like, there it is, like no variant list. It's not updated for the last summer event. Maybe the pages weren't made, or like the wiki's been throwing errors. But like, look through that list, and then you see like a bunch of people that you don't care about. Like, there's like Tom Tay left.
Oh my
There's like
god.
Marduk left. There's like Shuichi.
I don't really care about Tomte, but I don't know. I
But
think
yeah,
Marduk's
you-
funny in Rayleigh, so whenever he shows up in Stray. So I wouldn't mind a variant just because he's funny.
Really?
I mean, he even showed up briefly in the current Summer River Adventure story, which I'm still playing through right now. And the only thing
okay.
he showed up was Azir's a vor joke, in terms of apparently he's like a first year student who keeps on failing because he keeps on forgetting to do his homework because he keeps on being eaten. So it's like fucking
Oh,
stupid
you meant-
cameo.
Oh, you meant Marduk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Tom Tay.
No,
still, so it's like,
no. Tomte's dull as fuck. Yeah.
yeah. So I was like, Tom Tay's funny. I was like, that's the first thing. This is the first time I heard of that.
I know.
Yeah.
Tomte saying his story is like, it's interesting, but it's not interesting enough to have a variant.
Yeah, Marduk's kind of funny. I would actually agree with that. But yeah, I think the upcoming variant list is like really, you know, dry if you're just like looking at it. So my guess right now is that they're not gonna try to deal with it at all, and they're just gonna make second variants.
No, I mean they're probably
They're just
gonna
gonna-
ignore a certain catalog of them for. Oh wow, I've never actually seen this page. It's quite nice.
Yeah, it doesn't have like summer hosts yet, as I said, but yeah, you look through it and it's just like have to roll out the gammas, have to roll out like the star pudding units, and it's just like who's left? Like
I'm still hoping for a Tower Mighty variant, but whatever.
is it for like meta reasons or because you think she's cool?
Well, it's both. I don't expect her second variant to be meta, but at the very least, I no longer dislike her because her kit is shit. So I always thought she was cool. I think we talked about this during the tier list stream from ages ago, but yeah, I like her design. And I just didn't like her story being boring as fuck, but maybe they'll salvage her in the variant, whatever comes, because surely Bomb Bomb will make more variants. I don't know why they decide to make Bomb Bomb's variants a bit delayed, but I can wait, I guess. He's a busy guy. Looking
Honestly,
at... Sorry, what's up?
Honestly, Jin and Triton variants are like definitely possible to me in my mind right now. It's like, who do you have left? You might as well just pull on Jin and Triton variants.
I mean, we have a Dagon variant already, and we also have what's called other variants for mentors, such as both Sandu and Kruzenik. So it's like, they're not special anymore in terms of them being mentors. They should get variants at this point. But I'm not really looking forward to them because they're probably not going to be mentors, so whatever. In terms of the ones I'm looking forward to, probably just Kimoon. Everyone's looking forward to Kimoon. Maybe Agyo, and there's a lot of Gambas here that I don't care about. Wow, Wakon Taka Mugen, of course. I doubt Mugens are ever going to get a variant, but I can only hope. And Oguchi, of course, would be nice too.
Yeah, the future does not look bright.
That's what I expected. This Invaders era of units has not been full of the hottest units, but someone out there like them, and I appreciate the quality that Life Invaders is going through with all these units. But yeah. What are your thoughts on this reprint? The story, the music, the banner, the ARs overall?
I haven't read the story, well, the English translation of it anyways, yet, so I have no thoughts on it. I do remember reading the original machine translation and thought that it was pretty light and fun.
Yeah.
Actually, I did read the Oguchi special quest because I remember it being
Horny.
No, it's not horny.
Damn
it was well, maybe, but it's just I remember it being memorable, but I don't want to spoil it for you. So
yeah, I'll probably do it on stream. Him and I don't really care about anyone else on there, so maybe Shiva, but probably just Oguchi, to be honest.
But yeah, basically, I guess if I just were to describe it as spoiler free, it kind of surprised me a little the first time I read it back in 2021. So yeah, that's all I have to say about it. So I read the translation of it earlier.
Okay. Well, I'll definitely be reading it then for sure. I only sort of vaguely liked them, and then Oguchi was never featured ever again in any event, and I sort of stopped caring about him as a result. But now that he's back, and now that you mentioned that, I'll be keen on reading more about his characterization and his special quest.
Yeah. Let me see. The music is fucking loud. I forgot about that. I don't know why the shop music is so loud. It's I can't hear shit.
It's I like
insane.
it, but I agree with you. Both of the battle and shop themes are very obnoxiously loud. It sort of makes sense if you read the story, because as you said, it's lighthearted. The entire thing is designed like a fucking, almost like a Monster of the Week kind of story. It's not like that, of course, but it is designed as if it's some sort of campy, there's a villain that they need to take care of, and then they have this ragtag team of heroes or unknown strangers that are unwittingly heroes that come together and do their goofy shenanigans together. It's pretty fun, but it's also not stupid like Seaside because there's an overarching plot.
Yeah, I also remember Jugo and Shiva being kind of a funny interaction.
Yeah, they have some weird synergy going on in the story.
Yeah. What was the thing? Oh yeah, they added that shop update which is kind of interesting, where you don't have to like randomly go in and out of the shop.
That's nice.
You just like hit the button instead. And the text dialogue would like cycle through
without repeating. Yeah, I'll definitely be using that to find my favorites instantly.
Yeah, so it was like, it's weird. Life Wonders is like, I want to say that they're like more concerned about like the quality of life of the game recently. You know, with like,
I mean, absolutely. I feel like they may have had like a major project in the background of how can we design or improve our quality of life, and then they gave an entire list of it, and now they're just rolling it out in sequence. There's no way this is all just coincidentally stacked on top of each other. It does feel like they planned all of this together, but now they're just rolling them out one by one.
Yeah, it's nice. I do think that I'm not sure of how good it would be for attracting new people, but it's nice for like, you know, veteran players who are like in for the long haul. They probably have to do more with like, I think you've talked about it before in the Discord about animation updates, like who the fuck wants to watch CS animations and shit.
Yeah,
or like
the shit
general
of like
battle
2D
presentation.
But they fixed everything but that, so it's like hopeful sign, right? By process of elimination, there's like barely any other UI update to really change. The only thing they really can change now is just like the battle itself. And you know, to be fair, outside of the actual game appearance, you know, the game mechanic seemed to be somewhat more interesting in the previous event. So maybe they are finally shifting gears from quality of life to more the battle aspect. Hopefully. This is a major cope.
Yeah. Because it's kind of like funny to me because this is like a problem that I've had, but I don't really think about, you know, that shop thing. Yeah. So, good for them.
For sure.
Well, I think that's all my thoughts on the event. I don't think there's anything else. Like, it's like farming wise, it's just like kind of dumb. Same shit, no seeds. Just get your like seals and shit. I'll probably just be finished once I get all the stars.
Yeah, same here. It's gonna be a short and sweet event and easy with both Taji or Shiva. So either way, everyone's gonna have a good time because you're supposed to bring them on support anyways. But yeah, that's it for this discussion. Thank you for joining, everyone, and thank you especially, Milk, for carrying the load of the work in this discussion. Normally it's split up among more people, but I'm glad that you were willing to step up. It was just you. And you know, you had a few favorites here too, so glad you could rep them. But yeah, the next streams that we'll be having is going to be tomorrow and the day after to finish up the Summer River Adventure story. And then there won't be any streams for a while, but there will be some time in the middle of that, of course, the video analysis on the banners, both the ARs as well as the returning transient summon. So 20 more days, or 19 or 18 more days rather, for this event to last, and then we will hopefully get some more twos then. But yeah. Until then, yeah, hope you guys can wait a bit longer, and we are heading out now. Alright, 1, 2, 3. Bye! Bye.